stand together.
Yeah. The cry from the ghetto, and the way on them like they don't care about somebody now. Victor vibes, if you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try. Victor vibes, if you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try.
So why we allow this administration to erode our democracy? This is a democratic society, and therefore every creed and race must find an equal place.
Yeah, Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try. Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try.
So I am calling on every youth, I am calling on every citizen. Let us unite and save Trinidad and Tobago. For far too long we have been exploited. For far too long we have been neglected. The time has come where we must stand united in order to save our country. Yes, my brothers and my sisters.
Yeah, Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try. Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try.
And let us fight to defend our democracy in this country. Let us stand together.
Yeah. The cry from the ghetto, and the way on them like they don't care about somebody now. Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try. Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try.
So why we allow this administration to erode our democracy? This is a democratic society, and therefore every creed and race must find an equal place.
Yeah, Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try. Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try.
So I am calling on every youth, I am calling on every citizen. Let us unite and save Trinidad and Tobago. For far too long we have been exploited. For far too long we have been neglected. The time has come where we must stand united in order to save our country. Yes, my brothers and my sisters.
Yeah, Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try. Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try.
And let us fight to defend our democracy in this country. Let us stand together.
Yeah. The cry from the ghetto, and the way on them like they don't care about somebody now. Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try. Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try.
So why we allow this administration to erode our democracy? This is a democratic society, and therefore every creed and race must find
Yeah, Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try. Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try.
So I am calling on every youth. I am calling on every citizen. Let us unite and save Trinidad and Tobago. For far too long we have been exploited. For far too long we have been neglected. The time has come where we must stand united in order to save our country. Yes, my brothers and my sisters.
Yeah, Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try. Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try.
And let us fight to defend our democracy in this country. Let us stand together.
Yeah. The cry from the ghetto and the way on them like they don't care about somebody now. Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try. Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try.
So why we allow this administration to erode our democracy? This is a democratic society, and therefore every creed and race must find an equal place.
Yeah, Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try. Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try.
So I am calling on every youth. I am calling on every citizen. Let us unite and save Trinidad and Tobago. For far too long we have been exploited. For far too long we have been neglected. The time has come where we must stand united in order to save our country. Yes, my brothers and my sisters.
Yeah, Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try. Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try.
And let us fight to defend our democracy in this country. Let us stand together.
Yeah. The cry from the ghetto and the way on them like they don't care about somebody now. Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try. Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try.
So why we allow this administration to erode our democracy? This is a democratic society, and therefore every creed and race must find an equal place.
Yeah, Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try. Victor vibes. If you want to see a better life, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we gotta try.
So I am calling on every youth. I am calling on every citizen. Let us unite and save Trinidad and Tobago. For far too long we have been exploited. For far too long we have been neglected. The time has come where we must stand united in order to save our country. Yes, my brothers and my sisters.
vibes. If you want to see a better vibes, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we got to try. Victor vibes. If you want to see a better vibes, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we got to try.
And let us fight to defend our democracy in this country. Let us stand together.
Yeah. The cry from the ghetto. And the way on them like they don't care about somebody now. Victor vibes. If you want to see a better vibes, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we got to try. Victor vibes. If you want to see a better vibes, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we got to try.
So why we allow this administration to erode our democracy? This is a democratic society, and therefore every creed and race must find an equal place.
Yeah, Victor vibes. If you want to see a better vibes, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we got to try. Victor vibes. If you want to see a better vibes, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we got to try.
So I am calling on every youth. I am calling on every citizen. Let us unite and save Trinidad and Tobago. For far too long we have been exploited. For far too long we have been neglected. The time has come where we must stand united in order to save our country. Yes, my brothers and my sisters.
Yeah, Victor vibes. If you want to see a better vibes, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we got to try. Victor vibes. If you want to see a better vibes, yeah, share the light. When the youth them know we got to try.
And let us fight to defend our democracy in this country. Pleasant good night, good night, good night. Welcome, welcome each and every one of you. Again today being Sunday, the live will be conducted on a Sunday afternoon. Going forward, Sunday afternoon at 7:30. Every Sunday afternoon at 7:30 p.m. So I want to welcome you all, ladies and gentlemen, locally, regionally, internationally. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I undertook with a few residents in the constituency of Brea, the district of Paracosico. We undertook protest action in the form of highlighting some issues that continue to plague the district of Paracosico settlement, which is commonly known as Sobo. This village, ladies and gentlemen, this village is one of the most neglected village by the hands of the People's National Movement throughout the years. This village is a village that stood the test of time under this PNM government. Further inside Paracosico settlement, there's a place that was owned by Petrotrin, now in the hands of Heritage, a place that they call Beach Camp. This place, ladies and gentlemen, was one of the state-of-the-art places that was under the umbrella of Petrotrin. This place, at one time, we had a trade school. A trade school that was commonly called the carpenter shop. This carpenter shop, ladies and gentlemen, would have bring out the best individuals who would have been able to get a job in any part, not only within the Caribbean, but any part of this world, with the skills, the raw talent, and also the development of individuals in relation to carpentry. You would have seen some of the best cabinet, wagonette, space savers, table, chairs, benches, buffets, wardrobes, anything that could have been made out of wood. Paracosico settlement once produced that. Within that beach camp area, we also had at one time a golf course. We had the Americans at one time who was in charge of Tesoro, they and other staff members occupy some of the best bungalows within the Southland. Swimming pools, old original type of the carrot shed bars. This place this place still boundaries with the seacoast on the Columbus Channel. From the area of Beach Camp, you would be able to see the mangroves and some of the river mouths across in our neighboring country, Venezuela. This place, ladies and gentlemen, is also responsible for a heavy influx of migrants from Venezuela to our shores. The Paracosico Government School, the Santa Flora Government School, was also housed in what was commonly called the carpenter shop. The Member of Parliament, Hedridge Brea, lived at that facility for years. That facility, Patrick Manning refurbished. Millions of dollars was spent there to hold a retreat under the Patrick Manning administration. That Paracosico settlement also bring forth some of the best footballers. A matter of fact, we still have footballers from Paracosico. One Peter Prosper, who is outside at this point in time, earning a living off of football. A place in Paracosico settlement where Prosper trained, where I myself was one of the goalkeepers within the area, within the constituency. At one time, under Alvin Cornell, I was called for training with the national football team. But because of poverty, I was unable to fulfill that commitment. This Paracosico settlement, we have also contributed to our share of oil and gas from within the surroundings, the perimeter. To help stabilize our economy throughout the years. This Paracosico settlement, ladies and gentlemen, has produced fishermen, contractors, drillers, carpenters, machinists, masons, plumbers, and the list goes on. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we had to take a position simply because of the neglect of a government that hold power in this country for over 47 years. Today in Paracosico settlement, well water, dam water is still being used for human consumption. Today, ladies and gentlemen, the roads in Paracosico settlement, it is not fit for a donkey and its cart to go through. If a donkey and its cart goes through Paracosico Beach Road, at this point in time, you're sure to find the cart but cannot see the donkey. And I think, ladies and gentlemen, that this government, they have reached a point where they are now considering the people in the constituency of Brea as the donkey without a cart. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been brought to my attention that high-ranking ministers within the government, they are now choosing what area of beach camp that they want to develop for their own personal and private business. We have had, over the past couple of months, former ministers, sitting ministers, visiting the beach camp facility choosing the areas in which they want for their own private, personal businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, the constituents of Brea, I want to ask you tonight, how much more of this type of neglect that you are prepared to facilitate? I want to ask you people of the constituency of Brea, how much more would you allow yourselves to be treated as a bastard child? A bastard child who has been so loyal to their parents how much more would you tolerate? How much more, ladies and gentlemen, would you, the people of the constituency of Brea, tolerate under what is your political parents who continue to treat you as a bastard child? Your parents, your political parents, they has reached the point where they are not only prepared to take away the food out of your mouth, but they are also prepared to take away your wealth, which is your assets that belongs to your children in this country. I have shown you a video. They call it the OK video. I have credible, tangible information coming out of Forest Reserve this week, where again a shipment of your assets, a shipment of your assets from Forest Reserve left the Forest Reserve compound, destined to an area in San Francisco with full approval of those that are in charge. I have identified for you a massive corrupt activity that is going on in Heritage with your assets, the assets of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. I have said to you, ladies and gentlemen, that this government intends to liquefy every form, every avenue of what should be, must be, have to be the people of this country asset. And you want to know why I use the word liquefy? It's simply because they are sending your assets down the river, a river of no return, a river where your children will feel the full brunt of poverty, a river that leads only to their friends and their financiers, a river that will bring hardship, a river that will destroy, a river that will move every aspect of the people's wealth in a direction that you will not be able to recover. We have seen exactly what is the intention of this regime. We are feeling the effects of the decisions of this regime. We have now reached the point where we cannot provide for ourselves because of the decision of this regime. We are now finding ourselves dependent upon a bag of food that we must go through all the different types of embarrassment in order to get it. We have seen that this administration is an administration who have no feelings for the people who are in love with it. You could imagine being in love with a boy or being in love with a girl who have no feelings for you. You could understand making love. You believe that you could understand making love to someone who have no feelings for you. You, the people of this country, who supports those constituencies that is in the hands of the PNM, you does not understand that you are in love with that boy who have no feelings for you. You are in love with that boy who doesn't care about you. You are in love with that boy who consider you as a bastard child. When you are considered to be a bastard child, you does not understand that parent, that boy who you people so in love with will damage, will mash up your sanity, will destroy your future. Today I am speaking to all of you who are in love with that boy, the PNM, that boy who takes away your manhood, your womanhood, takes away, destroy your ambitions. No longer you can be a proud parent. No longer you can be a proud father, a proud mother, because of that boy. That boy has brought you to the stage of where you now have to beg. You think it's an easy thing for a big man or a big woman to call my phone and say, Mr. Roberts, can you help us with a hamper? There is nothing in the home. You think it's an easy thing for a big man, a woman, to text my phone and ask me, Mr. Roberts, can you help me with an internet bill so that my children could go online? You think it's an easy thing for a parent to call me and ask me if I could help pay a light bill? Those of you who may be able to pay your light bill, I assure you, because of the policies of this boy, the PNM, very soon you will be calling somebody. Very soon you will be dialing somebody number if you could afford a phone card. You think it's an easy thing for people who have sacrificed and worked hard in Petrotrin, in the oil industry, in Paracosico settlement, in the constituency of Brea. You think it's an easy thing where they have to now hide a vehicle from a bailiff? You think it's an easy thing to see the bailiff knocking at your door and the neighbor watching? And the neighbor might footy well put it up on Facebook. He hiding the vehicle. You believe it's an easy thing, ladies and gentlemen? You figure it's an easy thing for all these hundreds of persons to go and line up by South Park or wherever to get a hamper? You think it's an easy thing for these people to line up, form long lines to ask for something to eat? That is what Rowley administration has brought this country to. This country, which was one of the most wealthiest country in this part of the hemisphere within the Caribbean. This country, ladies and gentlemen, where this prime minister and his government infiltrate every independency, infiltrate every sector. What they can control, they mash up. What they can mash up, they close. Worse again, when their friends, their financiers, and their family, when them involved, then that is the end of everything. Ladies and gentlemen, today I share out 30 boxes of lunches. And you know what was sad about sharing out those lunches? What was sad for me in my heart in sharing out those 30 boxes of lunches is that I didn't have 30 more. I didn't have 30 more. What was sad is that when those 30 boxes finished, there were young children who were coming and asking if they could get a box. I don't know if I'll have any heart, But there was young children who come in and asking if they could get a box of food. You could understand that? We big and we know what it is like to be hungry. We know what it is like when the belly crying for something to eat. And these little children running, coming to see if they could get a box of lunch. When we have a government, who collecting millions of dollars in rent from themselves. We have a government who giving themselves millions of dollars in contract. We have a government who recusing themselves over and over again to benefit from the state purse, benefit from the wealth of this country, and we had children begging for a box of food. Begging for a box of food, and ministers collecting 20 plus million. Ministers living nice, driving the best vehicles, big money credit card in the pocket that the state had to pay the bill, tax exemptions from anything that they want to bring in this country. According to Anel Roberts, eating shrimps and drinking scotch. And children begging for a box of food. Is that what we're going to tolerate in this country? Is that what we call leadership? Is that what we call we care about you? Is that what you call your party? Is that what you call your government? Is that what you call your African people? Is that what you call your own? And children crying for food? How long? How much more of this are you prepared? Are you prepared to take, ladies and gentlemen? The time has come where we must stand as a people and demand fairness, demand justice, demand equity across the board. That money in the treasury is not Keith Rowley or the PNM own. That money in the treasury is not Faris Alwari, even though his family benefit millions from it. That money in the treasury is not Stuart Young, even though his brother having big money contracts. That money is not Keith Rowley money. So if that money belongs to Trinidad and Tobago, how come today your children hungry? How come today your children crying? How come today your children don't have food? We have an MP in Brea that they call Stephen McClashy. An MP that the residents, that the burgesses, that the constituents consider to be Casper. He posts on social media. And that is all you will ever get. Brea, my brothers and sisters in Brea, how much more would you allow yourself to be deceived by fair speeches and fancy words? How much more would you allow yourselves to be deceived by fancy, expensive jackets and long ties? How much more would you allow yourselves to be deceived by fancy promises, by a prime minister, by a member of parliament? How long again would you allow yourselves to live in the poverty, in that poverty line, a line that you cannot seem to come out of, a line that crippled your grandparents, a line that brought your parents to the verge of committing the wrong acts in relation for you to have food? Would you allow yourself to follow that same pattern, that same example, or would you stand up, wise up, smart up, and do the honorable thing? Why not give yourself a chance? Why not give yourself a chance and turn away from that PNM party, a party that have you suffering? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, my discussion here today is for you to help understand the pain that you going through. You don't even know the pain that you going through. You don't even know the opportunities that you lost and will continue to lose. You have goals. You set goals in your life. And you would expect that based on the goals that you set as young people, you will have that ambition to become certain things in life. But if you realize that after 47 years of a party, none of your goals materialize, you are still living in that dream that you ought to have as a youth going forward. You are still living in that dream. A matter of fact, some of you live in that dream so long that that dream has since become a nightmare. And yet to the end of the day, those of you who live in that nightmare, you are so wicked to encourage your children to live that dream, to end up in that same nightmare. No, my people. No, my people. Young people, you must understand that the wealth of this country belongs to you. You must understand, as young people within any and every constituency, you must demand representation. You must demand that those who you elect in office, that they perform, that they meet the threshold the threshold, the bar that you have set. You must ensure that those individuals rise to the occasion and deliver. I hear some people saying that they don't take part in politics. Well, I have some news for you here this afternoon. The news that I have for you, ladies and gentlemen, who don't take part in politics and who don't vote and who that voting is not for them. Let me tell you something. The thing that make laws that you have to obey, you don't want to have a say in that. The thing that send your children to prison, you don't want to have a say in that. The thing that have you living in poverty, you don't want to have a say in that. The thing that tell you when to walk, how to walk, you don't want to have a say in that. The thing that charge you millions upon millions of dollars in tickets in this country, you don't want to have a say in that. The thing that make you pay tax, you don't want to have a part in that. The thing that allow your food price to escalate, you don't want to have a say in that. The thing that dictates your future, you don't want to have a say in that. Well, if you don't want to have a say in that, you might as well go on a boat and jump in the sea and forget about it. Because that is the thing that makes law for you, your children, and your generation. So if you don't want to have a say in that, something wrong with you. That's the process where you could agree with what is happening, or that is the process for you to move those that you disagree with by your vote. So don't be fooled, young people. Don't be fooled, young people. You must participate in your future. You are young, you are bright, you are intelligent. Do not make yourself a fool by saying, I am not going to participate in the thing that control my whole life. Politics dictates when you're born to when you die. Politics say right now, no cremation for the Hindu community in relation to COVID deaths. Politics run the tongue. And if you living in tongue, you better be ready. You better be ready to make decisions to who lead you or who get out of office. Your choice. You can live your life, all of your life, under a condition and continue to live your life under that same condition. You cannot afford, ladies and gentlemen, to live under a certain condition and find pleasure in allowing your children to live under that same condition. You cannot, ladies and gentlemen, allow yourself to beg to make ends meet and want the same thing for your children. You cannot afford to become docile in this country. I remember the days in Paracosico settlement. I remember the days of men like One Man, men like Egbert, and other men who they would have considered as the Bajan in those days. A matter of fact, you could not come in Paracosico settlement and play no bad man, because we had real bad men down there. And those bad men used to look out for the community. They used to stand for the community. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I have witnessed that people afraid to come and stand up and deal with the road situation simply because they are saying, if we come out there, we cannot get our next hamper. You could imagine. You could imagine people afraid. They are afraid to stand for their rights simply because if they come out and stand and say, we need the road fixed, they can't get a hamper. That is what we come to in this country. That is what we're going to accept in this country. That is what we're going to take in this country. That is what we're going to vote for in this country. That you cannot stand up and say what is wrong, and stand up and say what is right. Because if you talk, you have no food. Because if you talk, you have nothing to get. Because if you talk, they spite you. If they talk, they suffer you. If you talk, you have no food. If you talk, you have nothing. That is what we're going to stand for in this country. I am saying, Victor Roberts, rather die for something than to live for nothing. You cannot allow a government to have you in a type of oppression that you are afraid to speak. Because if you speak, if you talk, or if you act, you have nothing to get from that government. Then why in God's name are you supporting a government like that? Why are you supporting a government like that? A government that takes away your rights, your freedom. A government that takes away natural justice. A government that takes away a right to be heard. A government that takes away your wealth. A government that is now intent to impose property tax. A government that took away your food cards. A government who the Prime Minister say 1,500 good. All you could remember, why is something wrong with all in this country? Something really wrong with all in this country? Something had to be wrong. Your ancestors may be turning and flipping in the grave to understand that the sacrifice that they make to stand for democracy, to stand for freedom, to stand for fairness, to stand for justice, to stand for equity, that you have now given up all what your ancestors have fought for. Are you telling me today that your ancestors, that they die in vain? Are you telling me today that you have not appreciated the fight of your ancestors for you to get a better life? How many more, how much of you are willing today to fight to ensure that your children have a better life? How many of you willing today to stand and push back against this dictatorial government for your children to be free? How many of you willing to stand today to ensure that democracy prevails? How many of you are prepared to stand to ensure that your loved ones have a future, the children that you bring into this world? How many of you willing to stand on the 30th of November? How many of you, ladies and gentlemen, going to unite and to ensure that every single government that takes office in this Twin Island Republic will have to deliver, will have to treat all of us just, fair in this country. You see, what has happened is that we have allowed this thing that they call race to erase our minds. This thing that they call race, we have allowed it to erase our minds, whereby we no longer see each other as brothers and sisters, but we see each other as enemy to a particular political party. We see the party before our eyes, and until you, Trinidad and Tobago, starts to see people before you see party, is until you will be able, until you will not be able to differentiate what is good and what is evil. And today we are now calling evil good, and we are calling good evil. And when a country reaches the stage where lie become truth and truth become lie, that is the path that you will continue to remain on, a path that will destroy you and destroy your children and destroy your grandchildren. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I am calling on every single citizen, I am calling on every one of you to stand as you has never stand before, to join together, to fight together, so that at the end of the day, Trinidad and Tobago can be victorious, that we can prevail. We will see good over evil, and we will be a part of the process to ensure that good stands strong, that good stands firm, that good remain good looking, and that our children will benefit. I am calling on every one of you to come out in your numbers on the 30th of November, 10 a.m. at the Queen's Park, Savannah, as we push back, as we fight, as we stand, and we will prevail, as we allow good to overcome evil. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. God bless you.
Share the light. When the youth them know we got to try.
And let us fight to defend our democracy in this country.